Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, with cruise ships getting ready to sail this June out of the Caribbean ports as well as in Southampton, I thought I should say, you know what? Here's 10 things that will be most likely changed from what you're used to when you're going on a cruise, at least in 2021. So the first thing is obviously there's going to be less people. In fact, in Southampton area in the UK, they are starting off at 1,000 people or 50% of your ship, whichever is less. So if you hit, say, a ship that holds 4,000 people, half would be 2,000, but there's still, they cap it at 1,000. So there's going to be a lot of room on a lot of these ships that is either going to be really good for you or really bad for you, depending on how you like, because it's a less social experience the less people are there, and some people really like that. But can you imagine getting on an Oasis class ship that can hold 6,000 some people, yet there's only 1,000 passengers on board? It's going to feel like a ghost ship. You won't see big pool parties and things like that all around the pool anytime soon on most of these cruises, especially in the UK. We'll see what happens here in North America and the Caribbean. Number 2, the buffet is going to change. No longer will you be self-serving, so you can even probably expect less hours in the buffet, as they now have to have crew members staff the food. What normally happens, there's 2 different versions. One you'll go to your table, you'll find a table, you'll order from a menu directly from somebody who will go to the buffet, pick everything up for you and bring it back to you. Or you'll follow the lines, social distancing in line, but each station will have somebody there who will put the food on the plate for you and continue you down the line. They'll be wearing gloves and face shields and things like that. No longer will you be sitting there doing this or licking your fingers and touching Okay, so buffets, big thing. Still going to be there, and most likely, especially it just buffets feed so many people on a cruise ship. It's almost impossible to get rid of them, because it's like a quick ride at Walt Disney World, where the line moves really, really fast. It can take a lot of people. It helps keep the crowds down in the other dining venues. Number 3, shore excursions. Most likely, all shore excursions are going to be from cruise lines only. You're going to have to stick with the group. You're not going to be allowed to wander about by yourself, especially at the beginning, and it's going to be very limited to just walk off a cruise ship. I don't even know if you're even going to be allowed the first few months to just walk off and stroll like we used to. We used to be able to just get off and explore the ports and walk around San Juan and places like that. Head off to where you want to do. Right now, with the restrictions in some of the countries that are going on and the warnings that are out there for some spread of the viruses, I think it's going to be only shore excursions approved by the cruise line, and you're going to have to stick with that group. And if you think, oh, I can wander around from the group and nothing's going to happen, remember the first person that tried that on the cruise ship sailing, one of the first ones starting out, and in Grandioso, I believe it was, and they weren't allowed back on the ship. Their luggage was sitting there waiting for them when they got back to the ship at the dock at their own expense. No insurance is going to cover that if you break the rules. So yeah, that's a big thing. I love just getting off the ship for a couple hours and wandering around myself, getting some exercise and seeing the area. I think that's not going to happen for quite a while yet. Number 4, probably not too many people are upset with this. No muster drill, at least not the muster drill we're used to. Gone will be the days of crowding in together or even having to wear The life jackets, a lot of places you don't have to bring your life jacket anymore to the muster drill. You just watch people do it. But some cruise lines were still having you carry carry the life jacket down to the muster drill. You crowd in. Sometimes you were outside for about an hour in really hot weather, depending on where you're sailing. And if you're an older person who has a hard time standing, that could be, a very big inconvenience. Now you're going to see, basically, you're going to be able to watch it on your TV. You're going to be able to do it on your cell phone or iPad. And then you're going to go over. Once you watch it, it's going to say you've done it. And you're going to be able to walk over to the muster station and just scan an ID of some sort that says, I've taken the muster drill, and you walk away. It's going to be all touchless from now on. And you know what? I don't think anyone's going to miss that. Number 5, embarkation and disembarkation. Remember sometimes getting off the ship. The ship, you would line up all around in this big, huge circle around the one deck of the ship in line trying to get off the ship. Or when you're getting onto the ship, those big Disney World lines back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you get up to the counter to get in, because no one really listened to your embarkation time. You're supposed to come in between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, but you show up at 9 o'clock anyway when you know they're going to open because you want to get on the ship as soon as possible. We've all done it. Don't say we don't. We do. So I've done it. I'll admit it. So, in fact, I rarely ever look at the embarkation time. Well, you're going to have to look now because they will probably not even let you near the embarkation area if your time is selected at a different time within a few minutes, you know what I mean? So if you think you're going to, if you're scheduled for 1 o'clock, don't show up at 9 o'clock because chances are you're going to be standing around outdoors waiting to get in for your embarkation. So gone are those long lineups, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But don't forget also there's going to be less people on the ships to begin with. So it's not going to be as big of inconvenience to a lot of people. So yeah, they're going to strictly enforce your embarkation time. Number 6, game shows are basically all the little live entertainment that goes on. Like, Royal Caribbean's very popular Quest show where they pit people against each other, usually males and females, wives and husbands, and they, you have to change underwear and it's an adult game show. You do all kinds of weird stuff in it, and it's very interactive and everything. Yeah, that might not be happening for a while, those kind of shows. Even going to a game show that would be like Jeopardy or, the yes-no game show, they're probably going to have very limited amount of people doing that and very limited game shows and entertainment like that. Even less live bands on the ships playing where they might draw a crowd of people in one area because they're playing or doing something. The cruise ships are going to want to avoid a lot of accumulation of people. So if you're one of those people who likes the line dancing and the game shows and all that, you might want to keep an eye out because that might be one of the things missing at the beginning until things get much more back to normal. And of course, this might go without saying, the big theater productions may go on, but there's going to be a lot less people allowed into the theater at one time. No more standing in the back waiting to get in, like along the back to watch the shows and things like that if the theater's too crowded. And if you're talking, shows like Mamma Mia in Greece that people just love and absolutely, they're 2-hour productions each night, you're going to want to book yours early if they're even going to offer them at all. I believe places like Royal Caribbean will do that. Princess Cruise Lines will do that because that's one of the big draws of their cruise ships is having those sort of things on board. But you can expect limited amount of viewings and much more spaced out in the auditorium. So you're going to want to make sure you do your booking as soon as possible so you don't get shut out. Number 8, I've left this because a lot of people, it's very controversial. You can expect vaccines. Right now, you can expect vaccines to be a requirement for most cruise ships trying to start up. There are a few very outlying cruise lines right now that aren't going to do that in the UK. As far as the Caribbean is concerned, they're all doing it right now. Even Disney has announced they're going to be doing it. So it's, you have to take that with a grain of salt. They're not going to be doing it forever. They're not going to want to do it forever, but they're going to do it to start up because that's some of the requirements that the countries are looking at, and even the CDC is looking at now when cruise lines start up. Who's going to be vaccinated? Is it going to be vaccinated only crew members and vaccinated only guests before they open things up? So you can pretty much expect for the first little while anyway, most cruise lines will require proof of vaccine before you go. And yeah, it's not my choice. It's not your choice. It's not the cruise line's choice. It's just the way it's going to be. Number 9, expect possible itinerary changes. Now, this is going to be less and less happening because they're going to have only certain destinations they're going to that are approved, etc. But here's an example. The Bahamas just got updated to a level 4 warning, do not travel from the United States, CDC warning. Well, that could at some point, if the outbreak there, the cases rise exponentially all of a sudden, you could see the cruise line say, we're not going to stop there. Now, there is a hard time because that's their home port right now. But if you're heading to one of the other islands and there's any kind of issues, you could see the cruise lines just say, yeah, we better skip that for now. I mean, Royal Caribbean just announced temporarily they're not hiring anybody from India right now because of how many outbreaks there are in India. So things can change at a moment's notice. While things are getting better here in North America, especially in the United States, they're not necessarily getting better everywhere. And so we have to just keep that in mind. Chances are it won't happen, but you never know. Your itinerary can change without a pandemic. So it just adds another layer on to what could happen. And lastly, number 10, this is a big one for me because I'm a very social person when I go on a cruise, and there's going to be much less social interaction. Because first of all, there's going to be less people. Second of all, they're going to be asking you to social distance in almost every case. So almost gone will be the sitting in the front row with people and chatting with people. Hey, you enjoying the show? How's your cruise going? And things like that. Meeting the same people every night in the game shows or the line dancing where you get to meet people for line dancing going every single time. That may slowly be disappearing for the first little bit while everything is social distancing and masking and less opportunity to even do it on a lot of cruise ships. So yeah, it's going to be a much less social. Now, a lot of people say, well, I keep to myself on cruises and everything, but think back to your cruises and you go to dinner and you're sitting at a table of 8 and you're a couple, you're interacting with other people. You go to a game show, you're having fun, you're interacting with people, you're joking around with your neighbors. Well, if those neighbors are 5 seats over, you're not going to have that same experience. So there will be a much less social experience possibility. And I think that at least for the first 3 or 4 months, you're going to see that as things start to ramp up. But let's hope we can get at least started, get all these things started. I just wanted you to know what you can expect if you're booking a cruise for the rest of 2021. It might look a little different, but it's still a cruise. And a cruise with all these little things that could happen are still better than no cruise at all, at least in my books. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel blogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.